What's going on, YouTube? The Volvo XC60 has been the brand's best seller, and it's easy to see why. Now for 2024, Volvo is making more changes than what meets the eye, and that's why we've been testing out this latest 2024 example for a full 7 days. So does this have what it takes to compete with the competitive German offerings? That's what we're here to find out. Now, as always, we will begin this review off with the spec dump. Now, what's under the hood for this Recharge model is a very powerful setup. It's a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder paired to electrical components and an 18.8 kilowatt hour battery pack. All told, this thing is making 455 horsepower. It's routed to the ground via an 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive. And as far as your all-electric range, you're sitting at 36 miles. Now, of course, later on in this review, we'll be taking this out for a test drive to talk about that performance as well as the other available powertrain choice. And after that, we will also be talking about the pricing as well as 2 new elements we're including in our reviews, predicted resale value and reliability. So you'll certainly want to stay tuned for that. But let's go ahead and shut up the hood, the world's longest hood, and check out the exterior because there are some design enhancements for 2024. Now, I said at the introduction that there are more changes than what meets the eye for 2024, and I do mean that because Volvo has really done a lot of work with this model to keep it fresh and updated. One of those big 2024 changes is that they're adding a black edition to the XC60. So, of course, that's going to black everything out and give you that really stealthy look that a lot of people are looking for. Do be aware, though, that it's only available in a black exterior paint color. Now, as far as what we have on today's example, you're probably also noticing that we have a blacked out grille. Well, the reason for that is because another one of the 2024 changes is that the XC60 now comes standard with the dark theme. So previously, you were able to kind of have a more chromed out look. Now, all XC60s will have the blacked out grille up here in the front and the blacked out lower areas down here. That's in an effort to, of course, make this XC60 a little bit sportier than the bigger brother XC90. Now, as we head over to our headlights, Volvo headlights are absolutely fantastic, and that's going to continue for 2024. We have standard adaptive LED headlights with that signature Thor's Hammer LED turn signal indicator and daytime running light. You will also get fog lights if you choose a model that's not the Recharge. For whatever reason, Recharge deletes your LED fog lights. And walking around to the rear design of this XC60, it's easy to see why they've sold so many of these because overall the shape and design is just one of those elegant, classy themes. Now, as far as some of the individual elements, probably the biggest design element are these taillights, which let's go ahead and check and see if all of the elements are LED. We do that in all of our Car Confections reviews. We do have an LED brake light, LED turn signal indicator, and an LED reverse light. So all 3 elements are LED. That's actually surprisingly nicer than what you get on the XC90 crossover. And then as we head down to this lower diffuser, this is all going to be finished in a body color and some piano black. However, no XC60 will have exhaust outlets. That was something that was removed a couple years ago, so none of the models will have an exhaust outlet set up now. And as far as your tow rating, it's going to be about 3,500 pounds. Now, no luxury SUV would be complete without stylish wheels, and boy, oh boy, does this XC60 have some stylish wheels. These are the top-of-the-line, largest wheel that you can get. This is a 22-inch contrast alloy wheel that we have on today's example. Of course, you do come standard with smaller wheels on some of the lower-end models, such as 18s. You can also get 19s, 20s, and 21s. So really the whole gamut of wheel selections, but I certainly love the way these look on this particular tester with this paint color. Now, as far as the mirrors, they are going to be finished in black now that the dark theme is standard. They're also going to be fully loaded on all XC60s, so standard blind spot monitoring, power folding, and auto dimming. Now, here at the side of the XC60, you're going to come in at an overall length of 185.4 inches, which is a very competitive length for this segment. We also have our blacked out window surrounds and roof rails up top. Now, when it comes to your safety systems, Volvo is going to include all 4 active safety features as standard equipment on the XC60 range. However, you will have to choose the Plus trim level or above if you want their Pilot Assist highway assisting function. But guys, there are some things to talk about on the inside, so let's go ahead and dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars. And now let's check out the lovely Swedish cabin. But before we get inside, I do want to show you your key fob. This is your signature Volvo key fob. It has the buttons on the side. You do also have remote start included for free for 4 years. Now this is the standard smart entry system, so you just grab behind the handle. That will fold the mirrors out and allow you to unlock the door. And glance inside that beautiful Swedish cabin. Now, there haven't been a ton of changes to the overall design, but I do want to just go ahead and start by talking about our color and material choices. So, on the very base end, you are going to have a premium textile seat or a leatherette for the core trim level. The Plus will get you real leather seating, and then the Ultimate is going to get you full Napa leather seating. Now, you'll notice that's not actually what we have on today's tester. That's because we have the wool blend seat. It certainly is a very unique thing to have a wool seat in a luxury vehicle, so I certainly recommend if you want something unique to get this wool seat. Do be aware though, it gets rid of your seat ventilation, so that's something that you want to consider in a hotter climate. Now, as far as the seat adjustments themselves, we do have quite a few ways of adjustment. You also have things like power lumbar support and power thigh extension. And new for 2024, Volvo is now giving you the option of getting massage on this seat. So certainly I like to see that they're adding those nice premium features from vehicles like the XC90. Over on your door trim, you do have 2-person memory seating. And let's go ahead and dive into the interior details. And now that we've gotten inside, let's first talk about interior materials, which will not disappoint in this XC60. So over here on the door trim, we do have a leatherette material going all through here. We also have some more of that wool going through the center section. All the top part is going to be soft touch plastic. And then you'll notice as we head up to the upper dashboard that all of this is going to be finished in a nice leatherette. That is because we have the tailored dashboard, which is standard on the Ultimate trim levels. Dropping below that, as long as you choose a Plus or above, you will get this beautiful wood trim. I believe this is called driftwood, and it is absolutely gorgeous. It goes all through the center section and down through this area as well. It's a very nice open pore wood. And then, of course, you're going to notice things like our crystal shifter, which I'll talk a little bit more about later on, but certainly a nice interior material, Now, our push-button start is located right here. You just twist to the right in signature Volvo fashion. And let's go ahead and dive into some individual features. Now, you'll notice right in front of me that we have a digital gauge cluster. This is going to be a 12.3-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster, and that's standard on every single XC60 model. Overall performance is pretty good for this updated setup. However, one of the really nice features that you're going to get if you choose an Ultimate trim level is the head-up display, and it's also going to put navigation information in the head-up display itself, which is certainly very useful. Now, coming back to the steering wheel, all models are going to have this leather-wrapped steering wheel. It's also going to be heated if you choose the climate package, which is optional on all trim levels. However, it's always going to be manually adjusting, and we also have rain-sensing wipers. But one of the very important areas for SUVs nowadays is the storage. So let's go ahead and dive into that area. So with this XC60, you certainly will notice that it's a little bit aged in this department, because when we open up the center console, you're only going to find room for 6 donuts. So here at Car Confections, we do something called the donut test, and that's to see how big the center console space is, because that's not a given. Small SUVs will have bigger areas, and this is an example of a smaller center console, that's for sure. It is going to be nicely felt lined though, so keep that in mind. As far as other storage areas, you can pull this piece of wood back. That gives you 2 cup holders, and you have a little tiny storage cubby right there, and then up in front of this, you have another little tiny storage area itself. Now, I do also want to point out a wireless phone charging pad is not available on any XC60. That was eliminated last year. Now coming back to our shifter, as you can see, we do have that beautiful crystal shifter. That's standard if you choose the ultimate trim levels. You just pull back for drive, pretty simple operation, and then back up for reverse. As you can see, when you go into reverse, your standard backup camera will pop up, and if you choose a plus trim level or above, you'll also have the 360-degree ability, and you can even do things like, separate out the different views there. So I like that setup overall. Now just press the button, the P for park, and then back behind that you will notice that we have an electronic parking brake and a brake hold function. And then moving on from that, let's work our way up the dashboard. You will find a few additional physical buttons, and then this is going to be your volume knob. Now, I'm very happy to show you what audio system this XC60 has because it is a very impressive one, spoiler alert. We have the $3,200 1100 watt Bauer & Wilkins audio system, and I truly mean this is one of the best audio systems I have ever experienced. So let's go ahead and give it a sample. Yeah, this audio system truly is a joy to listen to. So if you're an audiophile and $3,200 isn't too much to you, I would certainly recommend getting this. However, if you choose an ultimate trim level, you're still going to get a Harman Kardon audio system that is perfectly adequate. This is just next level, especially with those metal speaker grills. All right, and finally, we work our way up to the display. Now, this display itself is a 9-inch touchscreen. It's going to be kind of a portrait style, and this is an area where you're starting to see a little bit of the XC60's age because, this used to be a really large display. However, 9 inches nowadays isn't too large. As far as overall functionality, it is going to be pretty solid though because we have Google built in. So as you can see right there, I just tap the button right there, and that is going to pull up the built-in Google Maps. I really like that we have a built-in Google Maps setup. Additionally, you do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. However, do keep in mind you have to plug it in with a wire. It is not going to have wireless ability. Now also in the screen you will notice that we have our climate integrated in here. It's pretty easy to operate. As you can see, we have a dual zone setup on today's example. I believe you can also get a 4-zone setup, however you cannot get it on the Recharge version. As far as the seat, we do have heated seats, standard equipment on all versions. We also have that heated steering wheel I was mentioning earlier. And Ultimate models will add seat ventilation, but as you can see, we don't have it on this model because we have the wool seats, which removes that functionality. Now, as we move on up, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. And then you're also going to notice one of the really nice standard features with this vehicle. If we swipe that physical button right there, we're going to have a standard panoramic moonroof on all versions of the XC60. As you can see, it's a large moonroof, and the front panel does open up to let that nice air in. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the rear seat area of this XC60. Now, for 2024, this area doesn't change, so we're going to continue to have about 38 inches of both leg and headroom, which is competitive for the segment. It's going to be a perfectly fine amount of space to fit, adults back here, so no worries there. And as far as how much knee room we have here at Car Confections, we want to provide all those measures for you in case you're looking to buy one and really need to know. This seat is adjusted to my own driving position, and I'm 5'9". And as you can see, I have about 8.5 inches of spare knee room, so perfectly fine. My feet can also slide up underneath the seat. However, I do want you to be aware this middle tunnel is quite a bit. So, if you have a middle passenger, they're kind of going to be spreading their legs apart, that's for sure. Now, as far as features we have going on, we have heated rear seats. That's going to be included on the top models of the XC60. Down below that, this is where your climate controls would be if you had the B5 powertrain. We also have 2 charging USB ports. If we fold down the center armrest, we're going to have 2 cup holders that just pop out of that. And then as we make our way over to the door trim, Our vent is going to be integrated in the B-pillar, so do be aware of that. But the door trim itself is going to be nicely appointed. We have soft touch plastic, more of those metal speaker grills. We have more of that wool trim. And then down in the very bottom, we have a little bit of storage. However, do be aware when it comes to fitting the Stanley in there, it certainly is not going to fit in that storage cubby. You'll have to put it in this cup holder. Now walking up to the tailgate area, we do have a hands-free power tailgate as standard equipment on all XC60s, so just kick your foot under the bumper to open it up. And from our experience, this hands-free function does work really quite well. Now, as far as the space is concerned, we're sitting at around 22 cubic feet behind the second row of seats. If we fold those seats down, we're going to be looking at a maximum of around 63 cubic feet. As far as how that compares to its main rivals, Audi Q5, BMW X3, that is going to be one of the larger offerings among those rivals, so certainly enough space to fit whatever you're going to need to bring along with you. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that we do not have handles to fold the second row from back here, so we will have to go up there and do it manually. So you just grab this little lever here, and that's going to allow the seat to fold 60-40 split. I did fail to mention earlier, but these seats do not recline, so keep that in mind. They're going to be a fixed back seat. Now, here at Car Confections, like I said, we want to provide all those measures for you. So let's see how much length there is from behind the driver's seat to the rear of the cargo area. That's going to be about 73 inches of overall length. So as far as behind the second row, about 37 inches long. And then let's see how wide it opens. The opening is going to be a solid 42 inches wide. Now, there is a cool button here that you may notice. That's because we have the optional air suspension. This allows you to raise and lower it just depending on what your needs are. So if you're looking to haul something heavy in, you might lower it down to make that floor a little bit lower and easier to get in. Now underneath of the floor, we do have our charge cable, and then up in front of that, there's a little bit of additional space as my tape measure tries to make an exit in there. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 Volvo XC60 Recharge. In this test drive, we're going to be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading. And if you're new to the channel and haven't met Josh yet, he is joining us for today's review. So give him a warm welcome in the comments down below. And he actually does have quite a bit of insight to share about this XC60 Recharge because someone in his family has bought a 2024 model. So,
yep. So I'm excited to share with y'all what we have found out so far.
And there's a quick John up to 60 miles per hour in the Volvo XC60 Recharge. Now, you can tell that was a very fast acceleration to 60, and that's because this is the most powerful version of the XC60 that you can get. What this is made of is the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. Of course, you have some electrical components, and you also have an 18.8 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery pack. All that together is going to make 455 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque, and it is just loads of torque. You know, when you put your foot down, this vehicle certainly will scoot. You know, and that's pretty much the first thing you notice when you get behind the wheel of this.
Yeah, and the official 0 to 60 rated by Volvo is 4.5 seconds. And just to tell you what that compares with, it is only 0.4 seconds slower than an X3 M40i. So this thing is no slouch. Like Mason said, my parents bought one and they have no issue finding any power whatsoever, but they might find themselves a speeding ticket.
Yeah, so it'd be pretty darn easy to get one in this vehicle. Now, of course, there is a little bit of a cheaper alternative that's not quite as performance oriented, and that would be your B5 powertrain. That's also going to have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine. It is going to be making less horsepower, as you would expect, but it still does have mild hybrid componentry. We've sampled that out in previous Volvo XC60 reviews, and that's a perfectly fine powertrain. However, if you're power hungry and if you want that all-electric range, you will want to choose this model. There's a little bit of a rolling acceleration. The other aspect of the powertrain is going to be an 8-speed automatic transmission. That actually goes for both powertrain choices for this XC60. I found it to be a good transmission. It definitely delivers power when you put your foot down, and it honestly doesn't even really need to shift very many gears with 553 pound-feet of torque, but we found it to be a very good mate with this overall powertrain setup. Now, one of the things I do want to point out about the 2024 XC60 specifically is that we have now gained all-wheel drive as standard equipment. So previously, you had the option of getting a front-wheel drive B5 model. That is going to be gone. This year, you're going to get standard all-wheel drive across all versions of this model. All right, and we've made it out to a country road, and I think this would be a fitting time for us to talk about this vehicle's performance. So like we said, it is a very fast option. 4.5 seconds to 60, 553 pound-feet of torque. This thing scoots. But is it a performance choice? And that's something that I do want to talk about here. Price-wise and power-wise, yes, it does line up with stuff like the BMW X3 M40, the GLC AMG. However, when it comes to the dynamics of this vehicle, it's definitely not really designed to be that sporty, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I do think it's a little bit of a different mission, but you can tell that Volvo went more for the comfort aspect of things, even though this is a very quick vehicle. The steering is quick and very responsive, but you don't have a lot of feel as to where the wheels are placed, which is something that obviously would be different if you had a BMW, for instance. So that's just something I want to point out right here from the start, is that yes, this has a lot of power. Yes, it's very quick, but it's not really designed to fulfill the same mission as something like an X3 M40i. Now, one of the main differentiators between this and an X3 M40i would be the all-electric range, because this is a plug-in hybrid, and none of those other offerings are plug-in hybrids. And this thing goes up to 36 miles on a single charge, which is very impressive. They improved it a few years ago. It used to have quite a bit worse range and a smaller battery pack. They've now bumped it up with the 18.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack to have 36 miles on a single charge. And I think Josh has something to point out about his real-world experience with their family's XC60 Recharge.
Oh yeah, I mean, Volvo's not lying when they rate it at 36 miles. In fact, I bet you it could probably go a little bit over that rating depending on how you drive it. But my family has honestly barely used any gas since purchasing it, and we now have over 5,000 miles on ours. It's plenty for a run to the grocery store, and the electrical components themselves make 155 horsepower, and so it's more than enough, and we'll show you here in a little bit, to get an all-electric acceleration and get up to regular highway speeds.
And now we've transitioned into the pure drive mode, which is going to keep it in all-electric. As you can see, that is just plenty of power to really keep up with the flow of traffic. Maybe 150 horsepower doesn't sound too impressive to you, but on the day-to-day, you're really not using much more than that. I mean, this is a full throttle acceleration here, and very easily gets up to 50 miles per hour, which is going to be plenty enough for any type of city driving that you have going on.
Now, if you choose to buy the B5 model instead of this Recharge and go for just the regular mild hybrid system, you're going to be coming in at 22, 28, 25 combined when it comes to your fuel economy ratings. And from what we sampled with those, they seem to perform pretty on par as well with those ratings.
And of course, we've lived with this vehicle for the past 7 days, as we said at the introduction. So let's talk about our real world fuel economy. So we've gone 210 miles, and so far we're averaging 25.8 miles per gallon. And that was pretty much all on city driving. So I do want to point that out, as we go throughout our weeks and stuff. Sometimes we drive a little bit more in the city, sometimes more on the highway. This was definitely more in the city, and 26 mpg is very impressive for something with this much power. And of course, like Josh said, if you charge this vehicle on the daily, I doubt you'll be using much gas at all due to that long electric range. All right, let's speed up to 55 miles per hour and get our sound level reading.
And we are already on fan speed 1, and let's go ahead and get that going. right? And 53.8 decibels is where we're going to settle in with this XC60 Recharge. And that is quite a fantastic reading, I can tell you already. But I don't have to sit here and guess, because I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, where we have all of our readings stored up in a gigantic database that you can go through and compare to your heart's desires. So let's go ahead and look at that. So that rating does place it near the top of its segment, and it is just competing right alongside all of its German competitors. GLC, Q5, X3 is right up there with the best of them.
Yeah, I will say maybe slightly cheating because the engine is completely off, but this is a plug-in hybrid, so that's going to be what most of you guys are experiencing. At least if you charge your vehicle, the engine's not going to be running at all. As we pull back out onto the highway, I do want to discuss ride quality. So this particular XC60 does have the $1,800 option of the air suspension. And I think this is really something worth talking about, because after living with this for the past 7 days, I will say the ride quality is definitely going to be on the firmer side for the segment. Something like an Audi Q5 will ride a lot softer. When you hit a big bump in the road, definitely some of it does transfer in. Now, we do have extremely large 22-inch alloy wheels on this particular tester. They look fantastic, but I do feel like that is harming your ride quality quite a bit, and the air suspension is not able to fully compensate for that. We tested out air suspension in the XC90 as well, and we didn't find a huge difference between the standard suspension setup and the air suspension setup. So honestly, I feel like I would just knock that option off, save the $2,000, and maybe get slightly smaller wheels if you want better ride quality.
And something else that Volvo is adding for 2024 to help with that ride quality and that sound level reading is that all Ultimate models now come standard with laminated glass. And so that's something that I can tell it's very nice and quiet in here. And even when the door is closed and someone's talking outside, the sound is very much blocked out. So I'm really appreciating that.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to just go ahead and get into our airball and slam dunk, which is our least favorite element and our favorite element. I'll go ahead and kick us off with the slam dunk and say that it's going to be the powertrain that you get on board with this. As I've mentioned a few times already, a plug-in hybrid in this segment is honestly a little rare. There's not a ton of options, and this is a very good plug-in hybrid. It's fast, it has a lot of range, so it's really going to be something that you might want to consider if you're going to be doing a lot of city driving. Some of those other rivals like the X3, they're going to cost you a lot more at the pump because you don't have a plug-in hybrid offering, or a regular hybrid either.
Right. And as far as the airball is concerned, I'm sure some of y'all saw it coming, but it's going to be the technology on this XC60. The screen has definitely shown its age over time. Some of the functionality, especially with like this big screen of apps here, it can be confusing to find something. I will caveat that with some of my family's real world experience and say that the voice assistant with the Google built-in does work very effectively. And so if you don't want to, punch around the screen and try and find your right temperature or anything, the voice assistant responds fairly quickly to do mostly whatever you need it to do.
Lastly here, I do want to mention your warranty is a 4-year, 50,000 miles for both basic and powertrain. You do also get 3 years of complimentary maintenance, but now it's time for us to talk about pricing and then resale value and reliability. And now let's talk pricing. Now, the current prices are on the screen right now for all the different trim levels. There are a lot of different versions of this XC60 that you can get. As far as what we have with us today, this is the Recharge all-wheel drive Ultimate. $67,850 is our starting price, plus all of these options. We do have a pretty heavily optioned example, plus $11,995 destination. We're sitting at $76,270 as tested, which certainly is a steep price point for something in this vehicle class. But if you're looking to buy a Volvo XC60 or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. And why you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. So now that we're done with the pricing, it's time to talk about potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. Now, first up, we're going to talk about resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Volvo XC60's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years, this XC60 will be worth 42% of its original value and 12% of its original value after 10 years. That means on this particular unit, we would expect a potential resale value of around $28,000 after 5 years and around $8,000 after 10 years, which is worse than average for all vehicle makes. However, it's worth noting that it's pretty much average with other luxury makes like BMW and Audi.
Now, we've also done the same thing for potential reliability by creating the Combined Reliability Index, which we have taken from a number of trusted automotive resources in the industry. Based on this ranking, Volvo is rated below average in relation to all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to check out all of our data about reliability and resale values, as well as learn about our methodology, make sure to head to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a very big decision, and you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, we hope you enjoyed our in-depth 7-day review of the 2024 Volvo XC60. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us to get vehicles like this down here to Kentucky, where we can test them out for an extensive 7 days and provide you all with additional details on what we would be able to do normally. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.